So now we're going to talk about research when it has to do with Google. Now, this is a very different kind of topic that we're going to be talking about because we're going to be talking about reliable versus unreliable. So let's get started on where we were. We were in our plan, search, and reflect because we were working on our questions and we were also working on searching for information to answer the questions, and those were those level 1 questions. And again, always revise, revise, revise. We're always getting input, always revise and editing, reflect and improve your process. Where are we today? We are in the search category. The reason I put us in the search category is because we're talking about what we are using for our searches. We're going to talk the different things that you are going to pull up whenever you come to Google. Where are we headed next? We're going to go back to plan and search because after this, you will be writing your level 2 questions and level 3 questions, and you will also be starting to answer them utilizing Google. And so you'll be doing your search to answer those questions. Now, what is the most important thing when it comes to research? Now, guys, this is something that we talked to the high school librarians and high school teachers, and we said, okay, what do you feel students struggle with the most, and what's the most important thing when it comes to research? And they all had the exact same answer. They all said perseverance. Perseverance is the quality that allows someone to continue to do something even though it's difficult. I'm going to give you a heads up. Research is not easy. It is not one of those things where you're going to ask a question and it's going to take you straight to this beautiful place. It's not going to know what you're thinking. Although we think that Google and Amazon and all these places know what we're thinking, they really don't. So they can't necessarily give us the perfect resource that will answer all of our questions and support everything that we believe. Sometimes we have to dig. I know that I have done searches on Google before that I've had to lurk on the second, third, fourth page of a thing, even further, or I've had to change the way I've searched for it in order to find information that I'm looking for, not necessarily that supports my view, but that will help me answer the question. I know something's out there, I just have to find it. So what we need you guys to do is we need to remember that perseverance, we need to make sure and push through the hard times. Do not go in with an I can't attitude. Go in with an I can't attitude. As corny as that sounds, that's really what we need you guys to do when it comes to research. So today what we're going to talk about is reliable versus unreliable when it comes to Google. Now, I know you guys, there's all these methods of different things that you could do. There's something called the CRAP method, C-R-A-A-P. All teachers do it differently. There's all these different methods for actually analyzing, is a website good? But I want to go over just the basics, the basic knowledge where you don't even have to pull that out to know if it's good or bad to start with. Now, some might start in the good category and move over to the not good category, but if they're in the not good category, very rarely will they move back over. So let's talk about this. It's a great visual for you guys to see what is the most reliable. It's like target practice. We normally want you to be on most reliable, right there in the middle in the green, the reference books. That's the encyclopedias, the atlases, anything like that. Online databases, we've already gone through that. Scholarly journals. Now what this is kind of like a magazine, but a little different because what it is it's specialty. Personally, when I am looking for information about library stuff, I actually go to a book or a journal called the School Library Journal. It's a magazine that I look at that's specific to librarian or media center stuff. I know doctors have journals that they look at that talk about the different things that are going on in the medical world. Lawyers have it. There's just all these different journals that you can go to, and those are more reliable because they're vetted out good information. And so that right there is, if you can do all your research in these places, great. But we do know that people utilize Google. So we need to teach you guys how when you go to that, when you go outside the middle of the target, when you go outside the bullseye of the target, what you need to be aware of. First off, the mostly reliable in that next round thing. We love articles that whenever it's a URL, it ends with edu.gov .edu.gov or .org websites, because these are websites that only specific people have access to. .edu websites, it has to be a college or an educational service, and you can't just by an EDU website. It can't be just anybody. .gov is only government information. You'll notice NASA. NASA is a .gov website. So as long as they have authors with the article, great. You don't really have to worry about those as much. The .org is kind of one of those ones that it's closer to the outside edge of this, because .orgs can and can't. I found great .orgs and I've found questionable .orgs. Nonfiction books are mostly reliable. Most of those go through a publication, or all of those go through a publication process where the facts in it are gone through and they're looked at and they're checked and they're made sure that they're all good facts. The one thing you might find about nonfiction books is that some of the information might be dated. It might be older than you would like. And so that's the one area that is a concern, is that some of the information might not be up to date. Reputable news publications like Time, certain newspapers, World News. And I'll be honest with you guys, what I've started seeing in today's time is that things are starting to become very biased, where news stations and newspapers and different things like that, they actually take sides. Therefore, sometimes the news can be a little bit harder to find the facts. But we've talked about how to find those ones in the middle. Remember that Bell schedule of the media bias chart? We look at those ones in the middle. So just kind of keep that in mind when you're looking at that stuff. Now, on the outside of this is where it's not that it's not reliable, it's that it's maybe reliable. Like, you really have to think about it, okay? And I'm actually going to move this over a little bit. So what you have to look at is an online article with no author listed. What I have found is not all of these are bad, but why is there not an author? If I'm going to take the time to do my research, write an article, go through the process, you can be sure that I am putting my name on that article, not even a question. Or if I'm working with a group of people that maybe it's with a company, that company's name is going on that article, which is sometimes the case. You'll sometimes see, I know with History Channel, they like to put History Channel editors so that they're in a group. .com websites, not all .coms are bad, but you have to go into it with a, what is this .com from? I've talked about National Geographic in the past. National Geographic is a great website and it has great information. It is a .com website, as is things like, History Channel is one of them that I'm thinking of that is a .com website, just different things like that. So you have to be very careful, but you can go into it with a question. And any popular magazines like People, Vogue, GQ, anything that's more of a popular magazine or meant to be more of a social information news one, or entertainment, you do need to go into it with a question on that. So just keep that in mind. Remember, we would love the most reliable, and if you would like for this project for level 2 and level 3 questions to continue to use databases and reference books, or the book that you've got, and only use that information, great. Only use that. But remember, we are, for level 2 and level 3 questions, opening it up to Google, and that's why we're talking about this. Now, things that are not reliable, like we're saying, you do not use these. Let's start with the first one, and it's a biggie. Wikipedia. Wikipedia is not a source. Many of you might already know this about Wikipedia, and so I'm going to go ahead and go over it anyway. Wikipedia is a wiki. A wiki is an online website that can be edited by pretty much anybody. So if I wanted to go onto Elvis Presley's website and say that he is alive in Frisco, Texas, I can actually go in and change that, and it will say that for at least a short period of time. Now, there are people who work for Wikipedia who go through and look at the changes that have been made and adjust them as necessary, but there is a chance that this could happen. So keep in mind that for a short period of time, that might change. Also, it's not required that they do their research. So whether it be now, in high school, in college, Wikipedia is not meant for formal research. Wikipedia is meant for informal research if you're just doing something for your own knowledge, but that's not what this project is. This is a formal research project. Online chat conversations. I see this a lot in the pro-con things, or if you're doing a topic that has more of a, not a political stance, but it's possibly very recent, that if you go on, you can't use the information like the comments or anything like that that comes underneath as facts. If someone says, well, 5 out of 10 people are sick with them, got food poisoning at this restaurant, well, you can't trust that unless it's coming from an actual source and they've actually done research on it. You can't trust that within the conversations. YouTube, if you watch a video on YouTube and you're looking at the comments below and it looks like there's facts in it, you cannot cite that. Most blogs, now blogs are not as much something that is used now, but there are some that are utilized for if you are doing like a country or an animal and you see them for travel sites and they try to give you information and make it sound all like it's researched and it's fact based. If it's a blog, you cannot use it, not reliable at all. Anything that's self-published and is obviously biased. If you're reading a book about animal cruelty and it's from a group that does not believe in using animals for anything, or a very specific group, you need to get more in the middle. You need to get someone who is not focused on one way or the other. It's someone that is in the middle for your facts. Now, you can start believing one way or another, but your sources need to make sure that they're in that middle ground area. Okay. Individuals' websites. If you want to go to Miss Lasley's website and get information about the library and get these texts, you can't quote me on those. Okay. Not that I have anything about anything for y'all's projects, but I'm not a source for this. It needs to be published. Of course, tabloids, we're talking about the National Star or the Star, the National Enquirer, things that it's obvious that it's not real, okay? Just because it's printed doesn't mean it's right. And any fiction books. Especially, I have a lot of students who love reading historical fiction books. And I do know that a lot of that is based on, historical fiction is based on something from history, but you cannot take your facts from that because those fiction books are just that. They have a source of real, but they also have a source of fiction. So just keep that in mind that you cannot quote a fictional book. Okay. Now, when we're doing our sources, our research organizer, you guys have seen this before, and I've seen this specific PowerPoint slide before. I will remind you that when you answer your question, in order to answer the question, you have to have two sources. Now, remember that we are paraphrasing. We do not write word for word. We do not copy and paste in our notes section. The only place you're allowed to copy and paste is in the citation part. And so that's part of this, is that if I'm answering the question, why was Adolf Hitler so focused on the Jewish population? I'm going to actually have a source one that gives me an answer, and a source two that possibly it might support and have the same reason behind it from source one, but it might give me more information. And so they might actually look different, but it's giving me more information. It doesn't necessarily have to have the same information. So you have a source one and a source two. So just keep that in mind for level 2 and level 3 questions. We're sticking with that. You have to have two sources for each one. Keep in mind also, let's say that I had my World War II book that I was utilizing, and I'm going to continue to utilize it and use it for my level 2 and level 3 questions. I can use the same sources that I did before here and here. I just have to put the same information down from before. So that is how we're going to use Google. That's kind of that how to start Googling. In the next video, you are going to watch actually how to Google with an advanced search option in Google.